Hi, I'm Vicki Wright Hamilton, and welcome to Ignite. Are you ready to spark your passion and fuel your leadership journey? This is where ambition meets action and transformation truly begins. Let's light the fire and keep it burning. I am so excited about today's episode. We have a phenomenal guest with us, Hillary Bailey, and she is all about freedom caregivers and companions. She's a dynamic leader in this caregiving space, and she's one that knows firsthand how hard it is to stay grounded, the challenges that you face, but her heart is what keeps us going. And she really understands what stress is all about. So, what better way to open up this episode than to talk about how leading hearts in a high stressful industry? How do we deal with it? Welcome, Hillary.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy to have you here today with someone who did a lot of years of caregiving. This episode is extremely special to me. But let's start off by asking, how do you lead with compassion and without burning out?
Oh man, I would say number one, I have to remember my why I started this company. I've worked in geriatrics for probably around 12 years now, and geriatric clients are just my passion. I started out as a physical therapist working in geriatrics, and I just love to take care of people, and I want to take care of them well, and that is definitely my passion. I think number two is my community. Surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me, business owners that have been doing this longer than me, that have been through things that I'm going through right now, and reaching out to them for that support, for that knowledge, for that advice. That's been really huge for me. Also, having my leadership team and the caregivers that I have on my staff, we all share those same core values and that love for taking care of people. So, we really lean on each other, when times get hard. It's funny that I'm talking about this because the last 5 weeks, I'll tell you, have been very challenging, and lots of new things have popped up for me as a business owner, and trying to deal with those things has been extremely scary, extremely difficult, draining. I just have a great staff. When I have 10%, they've got 90, and they're there reminding me, like, remember why we're doing this, and they love doing what they do just as much as I love doing it with them. So definitely community, definitely remembering you don't have to do this alone, and taking care of yourself. I think taking care of yourself spiritually, mentally, physically is super important. I lost sight of that in the first year and a half of my business, especially the physical part. You just throw everything into this passion that you have, and what you want to build and what you want to do, and so you want to put your hands in everything, and make sure that everything is running the way that it's supposed to, and you don't want to delegate, and so you kind of you throw your whole self into that. And so I had to really take a step back and remember, like, hey, I need to take care of my physical health, my spiritual health, my mental health. So I got back into the gym, working out with a trainer, and having that time with my creator in the morning is super important to me. So taking that hour before I go to the gym, sitting with him, thanking him, I would say those are the things that really keep my passion going and can really help prevent that burnout. And yeah.
Well, that's interesting because having been a caregiver, just a little bit about that background from where I come from. I took care of my mom, my dad, my brother, my cousin, and my brother in law. And it was over a span of, I took care of my brother in law for 26 years, and then
Wow.
took care of the other four over a period of 7 years.
Yeah.
So, and simultaneously. So I definitely understand, and what you're saying is so true. If we don't take care of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and during that time period when I wasn't thinking about taking care of myself. I'm thinking about the love for them and caregiving.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize the toll until later on. And I paid a price for that. So if there's any listener out here today, please take her advice. the physical, the mental, and emotional. Please take that time out. It is so, so important. And to that point, Hillary, what boundaries have helped you to stay strong while caring for other people and moving forward?
Knowing my limits, Miss Vicki, just knowing my limits. I think we all have that barometer inside us when we know we are getting to a point of burnout or freak out, I like to call it, when we just have too much on our plate, right? And we're just like, my freak out moment, I can kind of feel it building. And so I know that for myself, when it gets to about right here, I need to step away and do whatever it is that I need to do, whether that be take a walk, make a phone call, talk to somebody, call my husband, talk to him, call my kids, talk to them, just to, to step away and know what I need to do to bring that back down to where I can focus on others. Because when I'm in that freak out mode, I'm focused on me, right? I'm focused on what's going on inside me, how I'm feeling, and I need to bring that down so I can bring my focus back to my clients and my caregivers. Well, I just lost my train of thought there.
That's okay, no problem.
Girl.
But as we start to talk about keeping that strength and moving forward, in this industry, I've always wondered, because you're talking about staying strong and boundaries as you're caring for others, how do you deal with the emotional impact of your clients and the challenges that happen as you do that in keeping strong? How do you deal with that?
Oh, that is such a great question. Again, I think for caregivers, and I speak in general terms of caregivers because that's what I still, I consider myself. And when people ask me about this, I think about mainly like my caregivers and kind of, what they go through. And so with the caregivers on my staff, I think keeping that line of communication open, letting them let us know when things are getting hard. Also, I like to tell my caregivers, like, hey, just because we're getting paid to do, this job, we can still experience burnout. We still need to seek out those caregiving support groups. They're all around Houston, and I just don't think people take advantage of them. Like, we need to build up that support and that community around us. I try to validate my caregivers' feelings. Like, I know that this can be extremely hard. And so sometimes, I may take my caregiver, off of a client that might be a little bit draining for them for a few days just to give them a break. But again, the caregiver, we go back to the caregiver taking care of themselves and being responsible for taking care of themselves, exercising, whatever they do to take care of their mental health and, their spiritual health is super important. Also, I think we can empathize with someone, but we don't have to take it on. We can be compassionate with that person and what's going on with them, but we don't have to take it on ourselves. There's a way to be compassionate without bringing those feelings inside and taking them on, because I think in the beginning, I think that was where I went wrong with that, was not able to kind of set that boundary. If my caregiver called me and was upset, immediately I got upset. If my client called me and was upset, immediately I got upset, because I just took those feelings on and wasn't able to step back and look at the situation and just kind of show compassion without becoming emotionally involved, if that makes sense.
But that's so hard. It's so hard to do, especially when you have such a big, caring heart. And
Yes.
it's like, oh my God, they're going through it. Their parent or their so and so is
Yeah.
going through these challenges, or they're dealing with this. And I mean, it's easier said than done, but I completely understand. I think that was the hardest thing for me,
Yes.
especially as I was caring for a brother and mom and dad and cousins. And, it was one of those things, they're so close
Because
that
we're
it's not just
fixers.
the empathy, it's the feelings of going through it.
And we're fixers, right? We want to fix it. And a
Right,
lot of times we just need to
right.
validate it instead of trying to fix it. We just need to validate it, especially for, our clients that are speaking to our caregivers and, they're sharing that, that emotional journey, which is what I love. I love when caregivers, they get that they cultivate that emotional relationships with our clients, and so our clients open up and they feel, like they can talk to them. It's just, it's hard to maintain that professional boundary, but you've got to learn how to just validate what's going on in their life and just say, man, I really understand, and thank you for sharing that with me. Because what a gift that is, that someone wants to share that personal, emotional information with you. To me, that is just the biggest gift that, you can be given as a caregiver, is to be led into that part of someone's life where they want to share that stuff with you and they want to hear what you have to say about that. And you can offer, you can validate and then offer whatever, experience, strength, and hope you might have regarding that subject.
So, how can leaders stay hopeful when every day is hard like that? How do you keep your hope up? How do you keep the positivity? How do you do that?
Focus on the small wins. You got to focus on those small wins. And for me, when things get really hard, sometimes I will just go see a client. Like, I will go and physically take care of a client, because I did that in the beginning when I first opened my company. It was me. I took care of the clients that we had, and that is what fills my cup, and that is what gives me joy. So if I have to clear my schedule and stop being a leader for a day and go and just, especially, I have one client that I just love. She's my very first client, and she is, I just want to cry when I think about her. She is the reason that I have my company, and she's the reason why I wanted to do this. And I'll just go visit with her, and she has the most beautiful smile and beaming personality. That helps me the most personally, is going out and taking care of people, because that is what fills my soul and it fills my cup. So that helps me a lot. And I also think, again, like I said before, remembering why I'm doing this, and that helps me remember why I'm doing this. It makes me remember, oh, this is what I love to do. Not always so much the leadership, the management, all of that stuff. It's like, oh, this is why I started this. It was because of her, and it was because of the love I have for her and the love I had for taking care of her. So I think for me, that personally, that's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I would like to say it would be something else, but no, that's it.
So, when people find their passion of what fills their cup, what I hear you saying is to continuously go back to that activity or thing, so you're not only is your cup continue to be filled, but it's a reminder of what I thought you said that's extremely important. What is my why?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What is my why?
Yes, ma'am.
And I always say we have a beginning date and an end date. Our dash is our why.
Yes.
And if we can just remember our why, sometimes it can set us back to that.
Yes.
Well, we're going to take a station break. And when we come back, I want to change the subject a little bit and talk about personal strength to team impact.
Okay.
So we'll discuss that when we come back.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you missed that first part of our segment, you got to go back and look at it. Hillary gave some very clear nuggets on how to deal with things when you're leading with your heart in a high stress industry of caregiving. And anybody out there who's listening and has had to deal with caregiving or around that environment, you understand exactly that high stress and what it means. And so you really want to go back and get some of those tips that she shared, because I think they're extremely helpful. But I want to change the subject a little bit. How do you build a mission-minded team that shares your passion and really wants to move forward with supporting your organization? What do you look for when hiring someone to care for others? And the way that you.
So I think the first thing, I have a person that does hiring for me, but I've watched her, and in the beginning, of course, I did the hiring. But for me, I think in the caregiving realm, and this isn't always true, but in the caregiving realm, usually when you see somebody's resume and they've been doing this for a really long time, it's because of the love of the job. Because caregiving is extremely stressful. So if they've been doing it for a long time, you know that they love it. And when we're interviewing someone, some of the questions that we always ask are, can you tell me about your favorite patient? And normally the caregivers that are in this because they love it and they want to do it, they don't have to think. I mean, it's just second nature. They're like, oh yes, I had a client, Miss Smith, and they'll tell us a really awesome story about them. Or we ask them, when's the time you had to tell a client they couldn't have something and you had to, like, how did you deal with that? But it beams off of their face when they love what they do. They talk about it with passion. The interview goes long because they want to tell you how much they enjoy what they do and about their skills and what they've done and experiences that they've had. But I've also come across a lot of younger caregivers who just have it. They just have it, and it is evident from the time that they want to learn. I also like to look for people who have a passion to further their education and what they're doing. I have some caregivers right now. I have one that's in school to be a CRNA. I have another one that's going to nursing school. I think it just, they have that passion and that drive to continue caring for people, but just in a different way. So I always look for the passion to better themselves. Goodness, what else? Yeah, I think from the interview standpoint, that's kind of where we can see that. But I also think, like, once they get on our staff, it's more of communication. You have to communicate with your caregivers, and you have to, like, let them know what's going on in your company. Let them know what the leadership team's up to. What are we doing? How are we trying to make things better? Let them know they can come to you and talk to you about, what's going on with them. I ask at every staff meeting that I have, hey, what's something that you have encountered? Is there something that we can do better as a leadership team, or something we can do different? Is there anything that would make your job easier? You just have to keep them involved and let them know that this is a team. This is a family. This is not, you are not just an employee whom I put on a schedule that we're getting a paycheck, that you're going to get a paycheck for. We want to grow as a family. We promote within. I don't hire people from the outside to do jobs. I promote, my caregivers. My scheduling coordinator has worked for me. She's been a caregiver for 20 something years. I'm looking at another caregiver right now to, promote her. I just think you have to keep it family. You have to keep it team. You have to celebrate all of their small wins. You have to, on our team meetings, again, I try to find, because all of my caregivers get amazing compliments. So I try to pick one compliment that I've gotten during the last 30 days and bring it up in front of everyone. Or we have a group text. I'll say, hey, I just got a call from Mr. Simpson, and he said, he loves Alexis, and let everybody know what a great job, that they're doing. And again, just keeping that line of communication open always, where I have to set clear expectations about what I want them to do and what, what it means to be a part of this company. But I also want them to know that their input matters, and that the line of communication is always open if they wanted to discuss something with me that either they feel we could do better, they feel like might be different. So just keep involving them in as much as I can.
Well, I think that's important, but you're leading into something that is a much bigger picture, and that's culture.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And defining a culture.
Yeah.
Creating a culture.
Mm-hmm.
All of these behaviors that you're asking for, your expectations, how you're rewarding, and all of that. How did you determine the kind of culture you wanted that was going to work in this industry? Understanding all the dynamics that you have to deal with, from emotional and mental. And, when you start dealing with clients and family members, there are people who are like, wait a minute, I want my mama to be treated like this, or I want so-and-so, or they came in and they didn't do this, or they didn't do that. So the question is how did you go about that? Because it appears as though you have such a wonderful company and team and environment. I would love to share those successes to help other leaders out there in terms of defining that culture.
It's, Miss Vicki, for me, it's been the golden rule. treating people the way that I would have wanted to be treated. Thinking back to corporate jobs that I've had before when I was doing physical therapy, like I ran a rehab department for a nursing home, and I just never felt included, that what I said mattered, that, I thought, okay, well, I'm here on the ground floor. Why aren't you taking my suggestions? You know what I mean? My caregivers are out there doing the work, right? They're in the homes, they're seeing what's going on. I'm gonna take their suggestions. I always felt, another thing I always felt was if I needed to call in sick, I was always, it was very frowned upon, to take a mental health day. Or if I actually felt bad, it was like, oh no, I can't take off work. Everything will fall apart without me. I want my caregivers to know I've got their back. If they need a day off, let me know. We're going to make it happen. Again, they have to take care of themselves. And that's the way I always wanted to be treated. I always wanted to work in a community that was a team. So I just try to treat people the way I would want to be treated in a job setting, because I want this to be more than a job. For some of these people have been with me since I opened. I don't have a high turnover, which is awesome. I love that. I really don't. For a caregiving agency, I don't have a very high turnover, and I think, again, with the communication, I think continuing to make them, I want to continue to make them feel like they are important, and that everything that they do is, we appreciate it so much. I never want them not to know that. So again, to round it back to taking my past experiences, working at other places and the way that they did things, I just decided to do it completely different. I did the opposite of what they did.
Well, a lot of times they say that's what works, because you know what you were in and you didn't like.
Exactly.
And so you adapt, especially as you're going into your own business and moving things forward.
Yes.
So, and with that, something you said that I want people to key off of, I have a very low turnover rate. And that high stressful job, to have a low turnover rate and to get compliments where people care that they're not just doing the task. I'm not just going in and bathing somebody.
Yep.
I'm having compassion. I'm, working with them. I care. I have empathy, etc. That says a lot about your people, but it says a lot about you as a leader. It says a lot about you as a leader in your organization. And I think that's what leaders have to understand, is that it becomes a reflection of how your team feels about you. So that leads me into the next question. What do you do to keep your team inspired and committed so that they never want to leave? What is it that you think is working the most to help you do that?
I hate to bring it up again, but the communication and the togetherness. We talk a lot. Being a business owner, yes, I do have people. I have a scheduler and I have a business development person, and we all work really well together as a team, communicating with our caregivers. But I do all the orientations for my caregivers, because although I'm the owner, or the boss, which I hate that terminology, the boss. I can't stand it. It drives me crazy. I don't want to be known as somebody that's too important to talk to them. So again, with that communication, just them being able to reach me when they need to and talk to me about things. They know I care about them as much as I care about the client. And I'll be honest with you, Miss Vicki, I've had, some clients that I've had to, let go because of the way that they did treat my caregivers. And I think we have to keep that in mind, especially in this business, is we have to have caregiver care too. We have to care for the people that are caring for our loved ones. So they know that I'm not in this for the paycheck. They know I'm not in this for glory for myself. I'm in this to take care of the people that we take care of. And I think the way that comes out of me when I'm talking to them. I think that does help them feel inspired to know that not only do I care about our clients and the care that they are getting, I care about how well we are taking care of them.
And you know what? That is a powerful, powerful statement, because what you're saying is it's not just about the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is a business, we have to make money,
Right.
but I care about you.
Mm-hmm.
You are a person, a human, an individual. And I think one of the behaviors that you said you do that shows that go because they didn't treat you right.
Mm-hmm.
It was more important to me that you were treated fairly than it was for me to get a green dollar to say they paid me.
Yes, ma'am.
That is huge. And if we as leaders continue to do that, we're putting ourselves in a position where saying to our people, people do the work, we don't, and we care about you as an individual. I just want to say, Hillary, that is probably one of the most profound leadership principles that, as you talk about, not only allows you to have a low turnover, but at the same time allows your employees to say, I'm committed, I want to stay.
Yeah.
You have been a phenomenal, phenomenal guest.
Thank
And the
you.
thing, I thank you so much for joining and for reminding us that leadership isn't just about tasks, it's about trust and compassion. Now, if you love watching this episode and like watching Ignite, I invite you to download the free Now Media TV app on Roku and get your instant access not only to this show, but all shows. And guess what? It's also bilingual content. We have English and Spanish. So, from business news to lifestyle to culture, all of our streaming is 24 by 7. So you watch it on your clock, not on ours. So if you're interested in watching this show and others, please search for TV on your Roku device and never miss a moment. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Ignite. And keep your strength going, keep moving forward, but don't forget to let that fire burn. See you next time.